Hi there folks. In this video we're going to have a look at a 22 semi-auto rifle made in Mexico. And in the Canadian and American markets this rifle is sold as a Mexsar, and in Mexico it's called a Puma. Puma is a brand name in the US of Rossi, so they couldn't use that name in the US, so they call it the Mexsar. And as you can see, it's a wooden stocked rifle. It is of conventional design and pretty well conventional materials. It has a tube-fed magazine, and it has iron sights grooved for a scope mount. You can see our front sight is one of those kind of fiber optic type jobs on a kind of a cast base which has been screwed on to the receiver. And our rear sight also has some of those fiber optic inserts. Either you like those or you don't like them, but they are rather effective at drawing your eye to the sights, I must say. So this is a very conventional blowback type 22. Mendoza is the manufacturer, and they primarily seem to manufacture air rifles. And this rifle very much has the look of their line of air rifles, especially the stock design. We have this kind of a belly to the stock, has a little bit of a rise to it. We've got an uncheckered pistol grip, and the buttstock has a big fat rubber recoil pad, so this thing really sticks to your shoulder. Of course, there's no recoil to worry about with a 22, but you do have a nice big thick pad nonetheless. We've got a stamped metal trigger guard on the bottom of the stock. There are no plastic parts on this rifle that I can see other than the fiber optic inserts. And let's see, quote you some stats on this. This thing is 2.44 kilograms in weight, or 5 pounds 6 ounces roughly. Overall length of the rifle is 102 centimeters or 40 inches. Has a 54 centimeter long barrel. That's 21 and a half inches. And the length of pull of the rifle is 33 centimeters or 13 inches, which is just a little short, but not bad. So we'll start off on the left-hand side of the rifle, showing you the logo, the Mexsar logo. And moving back to the top of the receiver, you can see it's grooved for tip-off scope mounts. Not a very long section of the receiver is grooved, only a short section, probably 4.5 inches or so, is grooved of the whole receiver, which is a little strange. That could pose some issues if you're trying to mount a scope and the eye relief or the the bell or the turrets get in the way, but anyway, probably could be worked around. The usual warnings to read the owner's manual. Made in Mexico for USA. So the safety catch is located at the rear of the receiver. It's this lever which flips back and forth. You can see the red there, that's the fire position, and that's the safe position. This is a very conveniently located safety catch. You can get it with your thumb, be you right-handed or left-handed. Another look at the stock from the left-hand side. We have on the bottom this large slotted nut, and that's holding the action into the stock. You can loosen that up with a screwdriver or with a coin. It is a little odd that it protrudes so far from the stock, but I guess that's to give you a chance to get a hold of the knurled portion. Let's have a look at the rear sights. We've got a conventional looking slider for elevation, and the fiber optic inserts in the rear blade. The whole sight is a little bit different in that it swivels. This front screw basically acts as a pivot point, and this next screw acts to loosen or tighten the whole assembly, so you can swing the whole sight side to side to adjust for windage. And that uses a metric, I believe a 1.5 millimeter metric Allen screw. And there's some graduations on the rear sight there to get you kind of in the ballpark. Of course, you can move the slider up or down to adjust for elevation. This one, to get it slightly zeroed, I had to move it over to the side a fair bit, but I suspect if I was the owner of this rifle, I would probably put a scope on it. This is not my rifle, it's one that belongs to a buddy. He kindly loaned it to me to do a review. Up on the barrel here we've got Mendoza again, and Mexico, patent pending. Mexsar caliber 22 long rifle, and we got our tube magazine there, and right up to the front sight. Going back over to the right hand side of the gun, this actually has the production date stamped on the barrel and the American importer's name, Century Arms International, Georgia, Vermont. And slightly different than most tube-fed magazines, this has got the loading port kind of on the side, and it's marked 17 shots, and that's sort of true. Actually, with the magazine full, it only holds 16 in the magazine, but then you can have one in the chamber, so a total capacity of 17 shots. Let's have a closer look at the front sight from above. You can see that it's held on to the barrel by two Allen screws or Allen bolts, and we've got this long fiber optic insert, and the back of the sight base is grooved to reduce glare. The sight base appears to be a casting, probably a die casting of some sort. So let's have a closer look at the action of this little 22 semi-auto. The bolt, as you can see, appears to be plated. I'm not sure if it's chrome plated or nickel plated or whatever, but it does appear to be plated. It's quite shiny. And you can tell that this thing is in the fire position because the striker is all the way forward here. The bolt handle is a nice big steel knurled bolt handle, very easy to get a hold of. And one nice feature about this bolt handle is that you can pull it back and turn it up into this notch to lock the gun open when you're downrange or whatever. You just want to lock the bolt back, quite easy to do. I like this a lot better than the designs where you basically have to shove the bolt handle in to lock it. So nice and convenient and easy to apply and let go. Now, doing that, cock the striker. You can see the striker move back from its original position, and you can see the spring inside there and so forth. So pretty much a conventional style of 22 blowback action with a tubular magazine. So the loading port on this rifle is conveniently located, if you're right-handed anyway, on kind of the right bottom side. You can see that silver opening there. And to load the magazine, well, actually the first thing you should do before you do anything as far as loading the magazine goes is to make sure that the safety catch is applied and the breech is empty, because you have to stick your fingers up around the muzzle, which obviously you don't want any rounds present when you're doing that kind of thing. So the magazine tube is very conventionally set up. You can see that there are knurlings on the front end of it, and there's a catch here. So you just turn the catch and pull the magazine tube out, and the magazine tube appears to be chrome plated, nickel or chrome plated. So basically pull that far enough forward to expose the loading port, which is cut out in the shape of a cartridge, which prevents you from putting the cartridges in backwards. So just tilt the muzzle up in the air a little bit and drop the rounds in, and that will fill up your mag. And as it says on the thing, it's 17 shots, but that actually includes one in the chamber, so the tube actually holds 16. Just push the magazine tube back in and lock the catch in place. And then when you're ready to chamber around, you'll have to drop the bolt and then pull it back and drop it again to be ready to fire. And now the rifle is ready to go. Just disengage the safety and fire. Alright, let's have a look at a few targets that were shot with the Mexsar. And first up, we've got a target shot with CCI Blazer. That's a 40 grain plain lead round nose bullet, high velocity, and this is 50 yards. All these targets I'm going to show you are from 50 yards, and my thumb is 1 inch across, so we'll leave that up to you to figure out the size. Got a bit of a flyer down here. We have 8 of them in a good group, and we got 2 a little bit outside. Next up, we've got some old Remington game loads, and these are a plated hollow point. I think they are 40 grain if I'm not mistaken. And there's a group we fired with that. Once again, 50 yards. We've got 9 rounds here and 1 a little off. I was messing with the sights, so the point of impact will be different with these various loads. Next up, we've got some of this Federal Champion Value Pack stuff, and it's a 36 grain hollow point, high velocity. Here's a look at the round, fairly small hollow point, pretty good ammo for overall. And there are 10 rounds, once again at 50 yards. A little bit bigger group with that stuff. And the last ammo that we tried was this Winchester 555 pack. You can get the same ammo in different size boxes. This is the big box. And it is a 36 grain hollow point, copper plated. There's the round there. Slightly larger hollow point, not much bigger than the Federal. And it was about the best shooting stuff that we tried today. So we've got 9 shots there and 1 outside. So the 1 inch thumb pretty much covers 9, and the other one opens it up to probably 2 inches probably for the extreme spread for all 10. Anyway, that's what I could do with those iron sights today. I'm sure you could do better if your eyeballs were younger, and I'm sure you'd do better if you had a scope on the thing, but overall not bad for a sporting type rifle. So overall impressions of this rifle is one of a very sturdy, heavy-duty traditional type of .22 sporting rifle. Reliability has been as good as you could expect with any .22. There are the occasional stoppage, but that is probably mostly due to ammunition. But reliability overall has been very good. Accuracy is quite acceptable, and trigger pull is a little unusual. It's a little bit long and springy, but it's quite repeatable, and not exactly a match style of trigger, but for a .22 semi-auto in a lower price range, certainly quite usable. Overall, the build quality looks to be pretty decent, and I don't know, I would probably buy one of these if I was in the market for this style of rifle.